Hey guys, you're back with Steph and Dennis, and today we're here with another big video because today we're going over every single money or financial account that you need to have. So basically, money accounts explained. We've done videos before on different types of accounts, specifically the high interest savings account. We've done ones on investment accounts like the TFSA and RRSP, which are similar to the traditional and Roth IRA in the States. And we even did a video a while ago about Den switching from a traditional big bank into an online bank. But today we wanted to cover all of those different types of accounts in one, talking about every money account that you could or should have, when you should be using them, and what you should be using them for. So today we're going to be taking you through checking accounts, savings accounts, and investment accounts in detail. So if you're excited for this content and more videos like it to come, show us some love down below, hit the subscribe and the like button, and let's jump right into it.
Okay, so before we dive into the different account types that are out there, we've got a really great metaphor that sort of compares different money accounts to different storage options. And you know what? I know that kind of sounds weird, but if we look at different money accounts and compare them to storage options, you're gonna pick a different type of storage option based on the length of time that you need to access those things that you have or your stuff. So to give you guys a quick example, I remember when I was in the middle of moving and I was in between places and I really needed a storage unit because I was looking for somewhere more permanent, right? But for example, if I was looking for more short-term storage, maybe I would have gone and bought a container that I could fit under my bed. But if I needed, let's say, my stuff immediately, maybe I would have gone and bought a basket that I could easily access right away whenever I needed it. And if you kind of get where I'm going with this, basically the same thing applies when you're looking at your different money accounts, right? Some of your money, let's say, needs to be more accessible now, so you might choose a certain account type that fits that profile. Maybe you need your money, a really long time from now, maybe for retirement. So maybe you need to put it in a specific account that's for that purpose. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna start off by breaking down the account types that people likely already have. So starting with, let's say, a checking account. If you're someone who only has one account, this is probably that one account that you have. And your checking account essentially should be used for your cash flow. So this is where everything goes in, and it's also where everything goes out. So if we're looking on the income side, this is where your paychecks are deposited. This is where, if you have any other income, this is where it all comes in. And if we're looking on the expense side, this would be where your groceries, your phone bill, your rent, this is where it all should be coming out of. Now, to make things a little bit more interesting, this is also where you should have money being automatically pushed out or withdrawn to your different other accounts. So if you have, let's say, a different savings account, if you have an investing account, the money should be coming from your checking account and being automatically set up to be pushed out to those different accounts. I think checking accounts are great, especially when it comes to quick cash. You have everything accessible to you at all times. But on the flip side, you're also not earning very much money, if any at all, on you leaving your money within your checking account. So for example, let's say you've got a bunch of money just sitting in your checking account. Not only are you not gaining anything on that money, but you're actually losing purchasing power each year that you have it sitting there. Okay, so moral of the story is obviously make sure that you have money within your checking account. So this means for those expenses, this means for those automatic withdrawals. So this could be your hydro bill that comes out automatically from this account, or it could also be the money that's going into your savings and your investments.
Next up is savings accounts, and there are a few different reasons that you might want to use a savings account. The first one being your emergency fund. An emergency fund is for about 6 months of your essential living expenses. So if you spend about $2,000 per month on groceries, rent, food, everything like that that's essential to you, then you would want about $12,000 into your emergency fund. And the reason behind this is that if you lost your job suddenly or you lost all your income sources, then you'd be able to live basically the same life that you're living now for at least 6 months while you figure something out. It can also be used for other types of real emergencies too, things like medical costs that were unexpected. And the reason that this should be in a savings account as opposed to a checking account is because your plan still isn't to touch the money. It's only in case of an emergency. So if you have it in a savings account, the cash is still accessible and ready for you if and when you do need it. But on the other hand, since you're not planning on touching it, you can actually gain some interest in the meantime. You might also want to keep money in savings accounts for short-term, larger purchases, like maybe buying a home in the near future. On this hand, you obviously don't want to have it tied up in something more risky, like an investment account, but you can still earn some interest in the meantime since it'll be a little ways away, near future, until you need that money. And in addition to actually earning some interest in the meantime, having this money separate from your checking account also helps you and makes you be one more click away from being allowed to spend that money, right? So if you don't have the self-control to not spend everything that's in your checking account, this makes it a little bit harder, and hopefully you keep what's allocated to your future self in that account. So now that we know why you you might be using a savings account, there are two different types of savings accounts that you could be using. There are traditional savings accounts that typically offer anywhere from 0.05 to 1% interest, and there's also high yield or high interest savings accounts that offer a much higher interest rate. So when the economy is up, it could offer anywhere from 2 to 3.5%, but there really isn't any specific limit to it. Additionally, we really do highly recommend that you keep your emergency fund and any other reasons, any short-term reasons that you're saving in high interest savings accounts, because why not gain more interest if you can? Okay, so to give you a bit of a visual here, because I know a few percentage points doesn't sound like that much when you're just thinking off the top of your head, but if you had $30,000 in an account with 1% interest earned, after 10 years, you'd have just over $33,000. On the other hand, if you had that same $30,000 in an account with 3% interest earned, you'd have over $40,000 instead. So that's an additional $7,000 earned with no extra work or effort on your part at all. So now that you know about them, go ahead, make sure you're putting your money in there. It really doesn't make any sense to not have your money earning more interest. We do have the EQ Bank link down below in the description box. As always, that's the account that we use for our high interest savings accounts or just our savings in general. So again, check it out down there if you're interested. Also, if you want to hear more about a bunch of different types of high interest savings accounts, we'll have a video that we did just over a year ago. The interest rates are going to be different from they were then, but the information should be the same overall. So check that one out after this one if you're interested. Last point I want to leave you with on the topic of savings accounts is that if you do want to open multiple ones, like one savings account for your emergency fund and one for money for a down payment, for example, you can open up multiple high interest savings accounts.
Okay, so now that we know all about the checking and the savings account, let's get into those investment accounts. So really, this is where the bulk of your money, once your emergency fund is funded, you've paid off your debt and you're good to go, this is where the bulk of your money should ideally be going. So first up, we've got your tax advantaged account. So if you're in Canada, this means your TFSA, aka your tax-free savings account. If you're in the US, this means your Roth IRA, aka your Roth individual retirement account. So I know that we've definitely said this before, but the word saving within TFSA can definitely be really misleading given the fact that this account, especially in our opinion, should be used primarily for investing. Yes, you can save within this account, but once again, why would you do that, right? You've got potential tax-free gains that can be earned within this account, so you might as well be using this account to invest. So something that's really important to understand and actually adds to that point is that if you do end up opening up a TFSA, nothing is going to happen. Most of the time, when you open up a TFSA and you do put money in there, there's no interest rate related to that account. There's no investments that have been made. You've essentially just put money into an account. What you do need to do is you need to add gas to this investment vehicle so that it can actually go forward. But anyways, to give you guys a simple and brief explanation on what a TFSA is, basically, it's a registered account that enables you to have tax-free savings or tax-free gains. So what does that mean? Basically, what that means is that if I take my money, I put it into a TFSA and it, let's say I make some investments, they go up in value, and I want to withdraw that money, there's not going to be any taxes that are going to be charged with the exception of a few cases. Basically, as long as you're not using your account similar to a professional trader, so someone who does this for a living, then you should be good to go. So I know that some of you are probably listening to this and thinking, well, what's the catch? Really, the only catch that I can even think of is related to the contribution room. You can't just take a whole bunch of money and just keep funding it in there and hoping to not have to pay taxes on it as it grows, right? Basically, when you turn 18, that year onward, you start accumulating contribution room each year. And if you want to hear more about that, we did do a video all about TFSAs and pretty much broke everything down. So you can check that one out. Either we'll link it up top or you can check it out after the video. Now, next up, we've got a different category, basically all for retirement. So we have our RRSP if you're in Canada or a traditional IRA if you're in the United States. So the RRSP was actually made to incentivize us to save more for retirement. And if we dig a little bit deeper, one of the big differences between, let's say, a TFSA and an RRSP is that it does come with a tax break come tax time. So if we think about one of the differences between the other accounts that we talked about that were tax-free savings, this one's actually tax deferred, meaning you get the benefit of investing that money today and you don't have to pay taxes on it today, and you're probably making more money today than you're going to be making in the future when you're looking to retire. So you'll technically pay less taxes, but you will still have to defer and pay those taxes later on. So really a great example that we got from an article that we read recently was that if you're, let's say, making $70K a year and you put into your RRSP the maximum amount of $12,000, CRA, or the Canada Revenue Agency, is going to treat that as if you made $58,000 as opposed to that $70,000, meaning you pay less taxes. Something else that I want you guys to remember is that there is also a contribution room when it comes to RRSPs. And I know we didn't dive too deep into that, but we did do an entire video where we talked all about that. So make sure you do check that video out. Now I'm going to kick it back to Steph to sort of wrap up this whole investment accounts.
Okay, last up are non-registered investing accounts. So once you've utilized your tax-advantaged accounts, like the tax-free and tax-deferred ones, you can also open up a non-registered, just a regular investment account. So basically there's no advantages. It's also called a taxable account to continue to invest more money. So you'd likely want and need to open up one of these non-registered accounts once your other ones are maxed out. And keep in mind that you do grow more contribution room on top of what you've already maxed out each year, so continue to use that first. But after that, if you still have more income going in and more room to invest, more money just hanging out ready to be put into your investments, that's great news, and that's when you'd move on to this type of account. So how do you open up a non-registered account? It's going to depend on where you're investing, of course, but one example I can give right now is what's called my personal account on Wealthsimple. So when I opened up my Wealthsimple account and portfolio, I chose to include and open up accounts like the TFSA and the RRSP, but also a personal account. So with registered accounts, the government obviously regulates them because there are limitations on how much you can contribute. There's rules around when you can withdraw money and different rules like that, so they have to keep an eye on them. But it's not regulated in the same way for non-registered accounts. So keep in mind that this personal investment account is essentially the same as your checking and savings accounts from that perspective. They're basically personal accounts as well, but on the other hand, you can't buy investments within your checking and savings accounts. So something I do want to note and make clear is that on these personal accounts, there is no tax advantages, tax savings, or tax deferrals. So for any of the interest, dividends, or capital gains earned, you are taxed immediately. And before we wrap up this video, we want to give a huge thank you to Wealthsimple for sponsoring it. We love working with Wealthsimple, and like I've mentioned a bunch of times before, it's the investing platform that I've been using for all of my investments throughout 2021 and beyond. And like I mentioned a few times throughout this video, it's a super easy and beginner-friendly platform to use to start your investing journey. I personally use both the Wealthsimple Invest platform for my passive investing as well as Wealthsimple Trade for my more hands-on active investing where I actually select single stocks to invest in. You can see here how simple it is to toggle between the two platforms, making it easy to see all of your investments on one space. Also, keeping on the theme of this video, I did want to show you that I opened up a TFSA, an RRSP, and a personal account, but I've been focusing my contributions within my TFSA for now. I also opened up a TFSA on both the Wealthsimple Invest and Wealthsimple Trade platforms, and I've been funding and investing within both accounts. I'm pointing this out because my contribution limit is about $50,000, and so something that you should always keep in mind is that that would be $50,000 across any and every TFSA that you've opened up. So I'm good for now. I'm only at $14,000, but I do have to keep in mind that across both accounts, I can't go over that limit of $50,000. So if you are looking to set up an account, we do have an entire video dedicated to the Wealthsimple platform, a tutorial showing you everything you need to know and how to get an account set up. So check that video out after this one if you're interested. We'll also have links below that'll give you a cash bonus if you sign up using our links, so make sure you check those ones out too.
Alright guys, so that's it for this video. We hope that you guys enjoyed it. We also hope that it gave you a more clear view on all the different accounts. I know that we've done some individual videos on all the individual accounts, but we hope that this kind of brought it all together. Once again, if you guys have any comments, if you have any questions, if you want to show us some love, make sure you let us know down in the comment box below. Make sure you like the video and make sure you do subscribe. Once again, before we sign off, I want to give a huge shout out to Wealthsimple for sponsoring this video. So if you haven't checked out those links, make sure you check them out down in the description box below. Okay, before I forget, I also want to let you guys know to keep your eye out on July because we're gonna have some free revamped resources on our website coming soon, so make sure you keep your eye out on that. And if you haven't checked out our previous videos, make sure you do check them out next door, and we will be back. You know the vibes. Let's go.